Bobby Lewis. I'm going to cry a lot. Just get ready. There's lots of tissue for everybody. We wanted to have a celebration of life because he didn't want sadness. He loved his friends and his family, and he loved a good party. And he wanted us to celebrate his life and remember the good times. He wants us seeing each other and going back over those times and remembering those moments that, if you haven't had a chance, walk around behind me. Dad's friends became his family. He loved people, and he was a great musician. He was an incredible superstar, but more than that, he was like a real person that had, I feel like his love of life was his friends and his socializing. And I think that when people in his audiences used to say that they felt like he was speaking to them, that he really cared about them, you should know that he really did. Everybody mattered. And even when he was still gigging with me at 81, we would always make sure he would want to go say hello to people. He always wanted to talk. I used to make a joke, but not so much a joke, that we wished that our sets were only 15 minutes and that we had 45 minutes to just walk around and talk to everybody. So I would let him just go as long as possible, and then I'd tap him on the shoulder and go, okay, Dad, it's time to rock. And then the performance and his funny sense of humor and how he looked at the world. And even toward the end, he still was joking. He was light. He felt like he had an amazing life. He would even say that. He had an incredible adventure, and everybody in here was part of that adventure, and they meant something to him and his heart. And it was my honor as his daughter to help him over the last 4 years as his patient advocate as he fought cancer. He won once, and we were like, yay, we got you through it. It was amazing. And Dad, in his usual fashion, was able to, his team loved him, his doctors loved him. His doctors still text me, we're so sorry about the loss of your dad. He was so amazing. And it was really difficult to then transition when the second cancer came, and it was impossible to stop. And in his mind, he said, I know this is it, and I'm probably not going to make it to 85, which he would have been on July 17th of this year. He said, but you know what? I've had an amazing life. I've had an amazing adventure. What a career! Like, who travels through the South in the 60s and then gets signed to Motown and then travels around in all these different bands and just making music, always making music and getting to play bluegrass, and who gets to play a banjo in a bar and people want to hear it? I mean, it's amazing. So he would laugh about all that stuff so much. And when the second cancer was really bad, Dad knew what he wanted to do all along. He was never a person that got pushed around by the medical stuff. We did our homework. We found out what everything was going to do, what the side effects were. He was really, really wanted to make sure that his life's wishes were honored. And we talked about that all the time at all of his different appointments. And even his very last appointment, when we were really saying goodbye to his team that was at Carmanis, I have to say, Carmanis, Farmington, they were amazing. Their care, their teams, it was really a great experience. And then we transitioned to Angela Hospice in Livonia, and I can't tell you what a wonderful second team they were. But I remember him sitting, it was our last appointment with his oncologist, and we joked around with all his doctors all the time, and Dad's sitting there, and he's already said what he doesn't want. He's like, I don't want to be in a hospital, I don't want a bunch of tubes, I want to go out with my dignity. And the doctor's like, well, we might be able to let me just tell you, I have to just tell you, and then you can say no. And so he said, there's this one more kind of something, an oral chemo, and Dad goes, well, what are the side effects? And the doctor said, well, you'll lose all your hair. And my dad goes, let me just stop you there. He said, you see this hair? I've had this hair my whole life. I'm not doing anything at this point to lose this. And the doctor even laughed. Of course, he was follicularly challenged. And so he got it. He's like, I just had to say it. And the doctor left the room, and we were saying goodbye to the other team. And I said, you know, Dad, my dad had a very, his beliefs were you lived and you died. So what you did is you made the most of while you were here. Like everything that you could want to do, you should do it. Because he didn't believe that there was going to be something else. And we were sitting there, and I'm like, Dad, so what if you pass and there's something else? And all of a sudden you realize you're somewhere else. And you want to let me know. I said, nothing spooky. Do not open and close cabinet doors. Don't hover over me when I'm sleeping. Nothing spooky. I said, if you have something that happens and you want to let me know, please. Something beautiful. Like a dragonfly. A beautiful dragonfly will land on my hand. And he goes, well, that's not like me at all. He goes, how about a bat? And I said, no bats, no cupboards, no hovering. And then he goes, you know what would be really funny? If I haunted my granddaughter Brittany, who's really like no zombies, no spooky. I don't know, Dad. Again, add that to the list. No haunting Brittany, no bats, no this, that. So that was kind of the end of our talking about that. And I will tell you that a lot of people that I've told that story to, when they're thinking of my dad, and they've never had this ever happen to them before, a dragonfly appears, it lands on them, it sits on their legs, and I just keep saying, be glad it wasn't the bat option. So, I guess I don't want to talk a lot more up here because I want to bring his best friend Frank up. But what I want to say that was really important, that my dad told every one of his doctors, every one of his nurses, he said, I have lived an amazing life, a long life. I've done everything I ever wanted to do. I don't have any boxes that are unchecked. I did it all. I cave dived, I dived the reefs, I rode motorcycles forever, like all the way through. You see motorcycles in his whole life. He just had this incredible adventure, and he lived it to the fullest. And he goes, I had a loving family, a wife. They just celebrated in April 62 years. Now,
yay!
That's like 200 years in normal people's lives. He said, I've made music with my best friends, and I've loved everybody. I've had a great moment ever. And he said, I have had an amazing life. And he said, I have no regrets. So I would like to do a toast to my cool dad, Bobby Lewis. So please, let's toast him. A life well lived and no regrets. Cheers, everybody. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm going to bring up Frank Campanelli.